What up guys, SuperMetal983 here bringing us the first CD review of 2019, and I've got a couple of album reviews and CD reviews lined up for the upcoming future, so stick around if you want to hear more. But we're going to kick off the 2019 CD reviews with, which is so far, I know we're very early into the year, we're only into February at the moment, but this is so far my album of the year for 2019, and obviously it's prone to change, but we'll see what happens in the upcoming future. But yeah, this is what I'm going to be reviewing for you today. Yeah, ignore the signatures for now. This is the new album from the band InVisions. It's out Between You and Me. This is released under Stay Sick Recordings. Now, if you're from the UK, you've probably heard of InVisions, but if you're not familiar, they are a post-hardcore sort of metalcore, you know, that sort of very melodic style of metalcore, not so much along the line of Killswitch Engage, but along the same sort of lines of what you would hear from the likes of, I don't know, Architects, While She Sleeps, and to an essence, Wage War, and Of Mice and Men. If that's up your alley, then definitely stick out for this one. Now, this is the band's second full-length album, following up from their 2017 album entitled Never Nothing. And I can honestly say I've only listened to that album once, and it was quite a while back, so I can't exactly picture what it sounds like. But I know that this album, for me anyway, feels a lot more catchier because it's got more of a replayability factor in my personal opinion, but we'll get to that as this review progresses. But yeah, this album dropped not too long ago, and I straight away jumped on board to check this album out when it dropped. I can't remember the release date off the top of my head. And from the minute I heard this, I was mightily impressed from the whole production side of things straight away. It was very bright, very clear sort of production, very professional sounding. And then the songs themselves and the progression of this album caught my attention, and it gave it that replayability factor, if you ask me. And I think that was maybe something that the last album suffered from. Maybe I wasn't in the mood for metalcore, but oh well, what can you do? But I'm starting to catch up a little bit on some metalcore. But anyway, but this album, honestly, is an absolute ripper, if you ask me, and quite rightly so. We've had some great releases in 2019 so far, but so far, this is at the top of the list because I've been listening to this album so fucking much. The one thing I do really, I feel, stands out a lot on this album compared, it's definitely got a very groovy, melodic atmosphere to it. Like, the grooves definitely put you in mind of a sort of, the kind of progressive-y, groovy sides of Architects' song, you know, with that kind of, like, in some ways you could see it djenty sort of feel, like groove and stuff like that, but it's not necessarily djent whatsoever. But yeah, the groove's definitely one of the catchiest things on this album, especially with the guitar tone being very crisp, very clear, but it's still very chunky and still beefy as hell behind it, if you ask me. Another factor that I definitely feel there is a stronghold on this album is the melodic value that is withheld on this. It gives it that kind of catchiness that you really need to hear when it comes to metalcore, if you ask me. For it to be really catchy, very memorable, and this definitely holds that on this album. Another factor that I found quite interesting on this album, and it's definitely something that I don't remember just looking back being a thing on the last album, and that is a kind of more Attila based influence on this sort of album, especially when it comes to the vocal department, because the vocals, they definitely have a very powerful kind of growl to them, which I think is an exceptionally well performed piece of music here. I mean, the vocals are just very guttural and just very powerful sounding, and the screams just sound so powerful, and just all in all, the harsher vocals on this definitely sound very emotional and very emotion filled, and I absolutely love them to death, if you ask me. And then but yeah, they definitely take on a bit more of a what's the song again, the first song where I really caught a reminiscent of Attila was the song Heretic, which is a great song that is definitely need to check out, by the way. As usual, I'll leave links to songs that you definitely need to check out, link down below. But yeah, that song, I definitely got a very Franz Attila sort of influence in the vocal department with like speedy, you know, rappy sort of influence, which I definitely feel is definitely a strong factor on this album that definitely makes it stand out from the crowd, if you ask me, and that is a winning factor, if you ask me, especially standing out in the crowd as not being just another metalcore band in the mix. It definitely makes InVisions stand out, especially on this album. But yeah, also the majestic clean parts that are on this, from the cleaner, more epic melodic parts, it definitely makes it sing and feel huge and massive, but it feels it with power and awe. There's a lot of awe moments on this album that make you bask in its brilliance, if you ask me. I absolutely love it. The melodic atmospheres, when they come in, they just, like the melodic sort of choruses, they're just beautifully executed with perfection, and they actually feel effortlessly performed, and that's what I look for, and it sounds absolutely fantastic, if you ask me. Excuse me. I also detect on the song Memoriam, that is definitely a more modern Architects sort of vibe on there with the grooves. Definitely puts me in mind of All Our Gods Have Abandoned Us sort of era. I definitely hear that influence. I mean, throughout the course of this album, you can definitely hear a lot of influence from a lot of different bands, and can not kind of pull out like, oh, that's an Attila part, or that's a Whilst You Sleep, that's a no, that's sort. You can just hear all the influence that they're bringing forward on this album. They're making it sound very unique, from like adding the Attila part to the Architects parts to, there's even some reminiscent, in my opinion, to a bit of Wage War. So if you're a fan of Wage War, definitely check out this band. Very reminiscent of that. A lot of Architects, Attila sort of vibes in the vocals. Now, I might as well add, don't let the Attila stuff throw you off, because I know there's not a lot of people that like that, but I definitely feel like there's a bit of influence in there, and I think it's not overly barren and cheesy in any way. It's just really perfectly executed. It's very enjoyable, and with the production side of it, very professional sounding. And quite frankly, when it comes to metalcore, 2019 is kicking off very, very well with InVisions' new album, Between You and Me, releasing the Stay Sick recording, which is obviously from Attila's label, but maybe that influence, I don't know. But personally, I think it sticks out from the crowd, this album, and this is definitely going to be one of my favourites when it comes to the year-end list. Will it be up at number 1? I don't know. We'll see what happens in the upcoming future, but I've been listening to this album so much, and there's some really catchy lyrics, melodic choruses, chunky, thick guitar tones, and just really enjoyable songs being played on here. What isn't it like when it comes to metalcore? If you like metalcore, post-hardcore with a bit of beef behind it, maybe even a bit of like Moths to Flame sort of heaviness, but some really catchy, memorable moments like Architects and While She Sleeps, and some odd Attila moments thrown in for good measure, then this is definitely an album for you. It's a very solid album, and I'd just like to say cheers to the guys from InVisions for signing me copy. I really appreciate it, and the shirt fits perfectly, guys, so thanks a lot. But anyway, yeah, this is a great album. Make sure you check it out if you're into metalcore or post-hardcore. Very chunky guitar tone, very tight musicianship, but it's performed with effortless, and you need to check it out. Songs I definitely recommend you check out are Follow Me, and I have to say Memoriam was an absolutely fantastic song, Never Enough, and Follow Me. I don't know if I said that one. I might have already, but anyway, yeah. But all the songs on this album are great. But make sure you check out the songs that I'll link down below, and I'll also link up to their store where you can pick up this album, and all the links that you need right down there. Check them out. InVisions with their new album Between You and Me, and I'm going to give this a solid 9 out of 10. Excellent post-hardcore metalcore album, and definitely a good start to 2019. I've got a couple more albums coming up that I'm going to be reviewing, including the new Hex Vessel I'm hoping to do a review on, the new Herod album, the new Starve to Survive EP, Seor, I don't know how to pronounce it, Seor's new album, Forgotten Lands. I believe it's called. Yeah, all those are coming up in the upcoming future. More will probably be added to the list, but we'll see what happens. I'm a busy boy. So, yeah, I'll see you until the next video. And remember, stay metal, and I'll see you later.